beginning with a movie that we talked about first back in January, because it is another Sundance alumni, Emily the Criminal, written and directed by John Patton Ford. It's about Emily saddled with a bunch of student debt and locked out of the job market after a felony conviction. She enters the world of credit card fraud and seems to take to it well. This one not only stars Aubrey Plaza, but was produced by her as well as her production company, Evil Hag Productions. So there's like a lot of intentionality, I would say, in terms of Plaza taking this particular role. She's definitely an actress who's really carved a niche for herself as this kind of wry, dry person who can do these like very pointed insults and sort of off-kilter types of roles. She sometimes is more of like the crazy, wacko sidekick, and sometimes she's actually the there's something wrong underneath the surface protagonist of these stories. We've seen her in lots of different modes, but I don't know if I've ever quite seen her in a role like Emily the Criminal. And I'm really pleased to see that she's able to adapt her abilities to this kind of lower boil crime thriller. It's not something that's calling for her to be this kind of sassy or like snide deliverer of sarcastic lines. She's just kind of like a very real person, and she's so convincing in this role. What did you think about Emily the Criminal now that you've had a chance to revisit it after a few months?
It's fantastic. I know this was one of our most anticipated out of the fest when we went to it. She's Sundance queen, dude. She's been going back to back all those years with a bunch of these projects that you're seeing right there. And yeah, you're right. A lot of people see her as always being that sarcastic person from Parks and Rec, but she's been on a run, dude. Ingrid Goes West was also another Sundance feature that I thought showed some chops in being able to take that comedy and make it very dark. Black Bear blew you and I both away, still at my top of her performances. If you haven't seen that, definitely go catch it. But I really like this one because it's not, like you said, her just acting, but her bringing the script to life. The director had talked about how if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have seen the movie the way that he ended up like viewing it. She added a lot of personality to it and realizing who really is the criminal and what's going on here. I love the handheld shots to it because obviously they shot it during COVID. They need to shoot it fast, but it adds to the tension. Like you're following her trying not to get caught in the system of like, being able to flip these credit cards super quick. And it was interesting to hear the director talk about how he himself was in debt, but he didn't want the debt that she owed in the movie to be his because he said that people wouldn't find it believable. And I find that just so telling about what the movie's about, it's the only type of loan that you could take out at 18. It's the only loan where if you die, it's going to go to your kids. There's no bankruptcy for this. And it kind of tells you, if you end up in this position, the only way to get out of it is to commit a crime. I think the movie handles it in a very interesting fashion where it's almost a coming of age story for her. She finally realizes what she's good at, and she starts diving straight into it. I would highly recommend
the scene in the movie. The scene in the movie that echoes the title of the film is one that I think both of us thought was one of the strongest moments in the movie.
Oh yeah. So if you're a big fan of Aubrey Plaza, obviously you need to add this to your list. But if you just like thrillers in general, this is one of those where it's like it's not this big bank heist. It's like something that is really scary, and I think a lot of people have gone through it. I've gone through it. I haven't done it. I've definitely been on the receiving end of this. But it's such a it's a high stakes but very mundane task. You're just taking cards.
No, it's very I don't know if it's like if you can really call it like white collar criminal because they're not white collar, but like it's not a violent crime, and that's something that they establish. But then like, of course, because this is a really expertly crafted film in some ways, I think they do a good job of gradually ratcheting up the stakes and showing you the realities of the situation of that type of I guess lifestyle. I don't know, but I think the way in which it handles those moments, it's just like expertly done, tense filmmaking. There's a few moments where it's just a little bit of like that kind of feeling like you're on the edge of like a downhill, like something's about to happen. And again, Plaza, as we mentioned, is so good here. Even though it's like not a very funny part, she's so convincing and so real. The accent, I can attest, is like pretty accurate.
She's supposed to be from New Jersey, right?
Yeah, she's supposed to be kind of not too far from my area, actually. But she's from Delaware, so she must have some familiarity with like the region. But
and shout out Theo, dude. Theo said that he came in
very
3 days before filming because whoever was there prior dipped, and they had to find him, bring him in. I thought he killed it, dude. I thought he did a really good job with it. I think they play off well with each other. And he had also shouted out another movie, which anytime I can mention this, he said his biggest inspiration was A Prophet. He said he wanted to film A Prophet, but in the streets of L.A., which he said ends up becoming, Michael Mann film. But nonetheless, A Prophet is exactly what I would like say that this is in the vein of, because it very much is someone who is outside of the system just trying to make it, gets thrown into a position where they end up becoming exactly what they were, the criminal that they weren't before, but were forced to become. If you have not seen The Prophet, do yourself a favor, catch that movie. And go catch Emily the Criminal, because it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, definitely agree. A strong recommendation on Emily the Criminal. I don't know if there's much more to say. Like it's definitely like solid. It has moments of some melodrama, but I think it's all overall elevated with those performances and just an excellent low stake. I don't want to say low stakes, but excellent like low key crime drama.
High stakes.
I
low
would
key.
say.